All right, and welcome to another awesome edition of Wine Wedding Wednesday. This time, all about capturing diverse love stories. We're really happy that you can join us today. I'm happy to be here. Again, this is Chris and Jeremy with the Bride Candy, and today we are joined by our very, very special guests, Osiris and Michelle from Modern Love Productions. Hey guys, thanks for being
here. Hi, good evening.
Thanks so much for having us. We're excited.
Yeah, no, we're really, really happy that you're here. We've been following your work for a while, and we've had the pleasure of actually working together. So that's awesome. So it's one thing to actually be at the event and then see the art form that comes out of it later, right? Because you really have an appreciation for being able to capture those special moments. So that's really what we're going to be talking about today. So
awesome.
Before we get started with anything else, first and foremost, happy Pride Month.
Happy Pride.
Happy Pride.
Happy Pride. Cheers.
Get your pride on.
And importantly, the question that's on everybody's mind right now, what are you drinking?
We are drinking a red wine blend.
Red wine blend.
Apothic wine, it's called.
Nice. I've had that one before. Yeah.
Yeah, it goes pretty easy. We're not wine connoisseurs, so this is like a good entry level for us.
It tastes like
a little bit. Maybe it is, right? Maybe. I was really happy. I managed to find this bottle of wine that my brother sent to me for my birthday, and I've been looking to find it again because it was so good. And it's an Italian table wine, but I totally geeked out over it. It's called Apassamento, whatever. It's a new thing. So
our favorite wine, because we always tell everyone, is called Travicello. It's an Italian wine. It is amazing. It's a red. It's a little bit pricier, but it is 100% worth it. Like, you will not
that's our favorite one.
Love it.
Okay, we're gonna have to look it up. We do a lot of these things, so we need our so we need the suggestions.
That's a wine.
Right.
Any excuse to drink in the middle of the week, right?
Especially these days.
Yeah, you barely need an excuse, really.
So let's talk a little bit about Modern Love then. Tell us all about, what Modern Love is, what it does, a little bit about your mission. Floor is yours.
Okay, well, again, thanks for having us. So Modern Love Productions, Michelle and I, started about 3-ish years ago. And really for us, it was a way to be creative and still do what we love, which is make movies. So the vision really for our brand is to be an inclusive brand that we make just stories about love without being very directorial, overposing, but just really capture the essence, the joy and the love of the wedding day. And to work with couples hand in hand to get to know them so that way their film really reflects their personalities.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah. Well, I think you guys are super successful. Like I said, we've seen some of your some of the clips that you've done, and the proof in right there.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, you guys spend so much time capturing love stories, but obviously there's one between you as well, and we'd love to know a little bit.
There is one.
Your love story.
So, spill the tea, or should I say wine?
Yeah, right. Spill the tea.
Well, so we're coming up on our 5th year anniversary, New Year's Eve. So we're excited about that.
Of
being married, yes, exactly. We chose New Year's Eve to get married because we really like to party, and we just wanted to have like a really awesome time, party for everyone. But Osiris and I met in Colorado in 2005, and I was 22, she was 21, so we were just little baby lesbians, really. So just kind of
baby dicks
all over the place, So we had kind of like a connection, but nothing happened with it until like 7-8 years later. We just both happened to be single and just kind of started flirting, and I lived in Colorado, and eventually I moved here to
Miami. I know.
So
I made her come here.
I'm from Florida. I'm from North Florida, and I never really planned to live here. But that was actually a contingency of just being in a relationship with her. Is that I would?
I was like, you have to move here.
So it's been worth it.
Yeah, I hope so.
It's been worth it.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny you say that. I'm actually from Orlando.
And work with your business partner, and to just like, I'm sure as you guys know, it brings these great things and challenges at the same time. You know?
Yeah, it brings us closer together. So it's wonderful.
I don't know. Would you say it's been challenging to work together?
I know, right?
No, actually, like, same. I mean, in the beginning, I wouldn't say a challenge, but it was different because I was doing it alone first. And he would help me, Jeremy would help me here and there, but just a few months ago, he joined the Bright Candy full time. And now over the course of like he came in like smack dab into wedding season for us as our biggest month, which is February. He came like, I think the first week, which was good, of course. But then it was like at the end of it, it was like, wow, okay, this is, I knew it could work, but now I definitely know it could work. And so then now, a few months in, we already know who's good at what, and how to work as a team, and it does make you guys closer, and just really like now I like to my favorite part is not being alone anymore, and the frustrations that I before when he had his job and I had mine, it was like our lives were so different, but now it's like I have someone to talk to and say, oh my God, this sucks.
No, for real.
Someone who gets the craziness of
Yes.
having her own business and doing weddings specifically too. So congratulations on bringing Jeremy on full time.
Yay.
I'm happy to be here. Yeah. It's also, I think it's also probably nice to have a real coworker, after not having keep everything bottled inside. And like you can vent to like some people, but they're never really going to understand unless you're doing the same thing. So it's nice to also have that, like somebody that's like, oh, okay, no, I get it.
Yeah. No, for sure.
They share your
There's
pain.
a lot of pressure in any creative industry, right? There's all this pressure to be able to tell these stories the way they need to be told, and there's all these external factors that can get in your way.
Yeah, it is. I think I've realized I'm a pressure junkie. I think, and it's cool. It's really fun because it's like it's a live event. It's a once in a lifetime thing. There's huge expectations. But I love it because at the end, you just really get to make something that you think like artistically captures the day, and the couple loves it. So it's kind of crazy, but it's also a blast.
Like if you think about it, in 20 years, somebody might be popping out their like wedding film to watch, and just remember that day. So these things that we create, they last, Yeah,
they do. Absolutely. Even for us, the flowers may not last for actually 20 years, but the video of it and the photos of it and the memory of it lasts for a lifetime.
Honestly, my brides, I think one, or I don't even know, but almost all my brides save their bouquets, all of them. It's really cute because usually we end up having like a little happy hour over FaceTime or something, and every time they show us the bouquet, and I'm like, oh, you get it! It's so cute. But yeah, I feel the same. I love the energy. I love the pressure, and also like it is a lot of pressure because it's supposed to be the happiest day of someone's life, right? And you want to give that to them. But I like the pressure. I think it's rewarding.
So let's talk about what we're here to talk about, which is a lot of things, but I guess we should really get at the heart of it because, we haven't talked about, at least on One Wedding Wednesdays before, we haven't really zoomed in on videography. So let's take a step back and just sort of, talk to the couples out there. Why videography? Why is it important? Why should we have videography at a wedding?
Sure. You want me to take this one on? Well, when we were married almost 5 years ago, we didn't have a videographer, and I would say that's our number one regret. We have the photos, but, we both have terrible memories. So I don't remember my vows. My sister, who I gave my vows to, was too drunk and she lost them. So like
we have no record of
so we have no record, so we can't hold it. So that's one reason. We would have had a videographer, they would have our vows from start to finish. They would have the toasts that, our friends and family did, and those things could last forever and you could revisit them. So I say to couples, photography is amazing, but videography will capture all those words and the movement, as you get a hug from your dad during the first look, or if you have when you have your first look with your soon-to-be partner, their reaction. We just posted an Instagram film where the guy saw her and he was like, "Ay, Dios mío," like he really just felt it to like the core. So those things the pictures can't capture. So, together we create this story that just highlights your day. And that's why we say, get a videographer, you will not regret it.
Right. And with photography, they have the burden of telling a story in one image, but for us, we have like a lot more opportunity to tell a story in multiple images. So a small detail, whatever the action is, a reaction shot, the environment, and then you weave in audio from the day and music. So it's a really completely different way to relive and capture the wedding day. So that's why we vote for it.
I agree. I mean, when we got engaged, the photos were like, and there's things that we have in our house, but I think one of my favorite things was the video of it. There's nothing will make you relive something other than actually seeing it.
Yeah.
Like every time we rewatch it, like there's always something that we notice, or there's just certain memories that come back.
Exactly.
Yes.
I agree.
Exactly. And especially with us, we're really big on emotional moments and moments that are not necessarily the big moments. Yes, you're going to get your ceremony and your speeches, but what about that moment when you have with your grandma, when you see her on your wedding day and you give her a hug? A lot of times people see our films and they're like, "Oh my God, I didn't even know you were there," So when you capture this moment and it's moments that go by so fast, but in the video, you can catch that, and it's a beautiful thing.
Right. One of my favorite times to film or what to capture during the day is before the ceremony, when all the guests are coming in and they're mingling, and they might be cousins, they haven't seen each other in years, they're interacting. And then same thing when the guests are just coming into the reception room, mingling and just having a great time and interacting. That's stuff the couple will not see at all. So they love having those small things. We find that couples really want to see their guests having a good time. So that's also like one of my favorite things to put in.
That's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like Chris said, it's so important, right? Like at our proposal, for example, I remember walking into it and saying to myself, "You need to remember everything. You need to remember like the breeze and the sounds and literally I'm telling myself this as I'm walking into the building, and I get there and I see him and he's in his pink suit looking so handsome, and like the rest of the world just falls away and I don't remember crap.
Exactly.
I don't even remember what he said. Like it was horrible.
Well, it's just high emotion. It's hard to you're zeroed in on one thing, so you're not seeing the big picture necessarily.
Yeah.
For me, I remember everything. But it was the most important thing other than proposing to him was I really wanted I wanted it in video, because we've gotten pretty lucky where we've had pictures together when we first, our first date, we took a quick 2-second video. It was actually from Snapchat, but we still have it. But there's other things that I think our first, the first time we said I love you, we didn't take any photos for whatever reason. And so then I just remembered, I was like, I need this on video, and it's so important to me because I want to just have that, because I'm proposing and I'm not going to be able to live in the I did live in the moment, but I also didn't really get to see it from his perspective or from anyone else's, and that was really important to me to kind of just see it happen. And the thing that I realized was also very important to me was actually seeing myself, seeing the emotion in my face and seeing what I felt, because I knew what I was feeling, but when you see it, it's like, oh my God, wow, I was so happy, and I remember how happy I was.
Yeah.
It's really, I think videography is extremely important.
Yeah.
For sure.
The power it has to transport you back to the moment. And that's the visuals, and you have like what people are saying, and then on top of that, really curating a music choice of a song that really just heightens the emotion even more. Every time you see a good movie that you really feel like emotion, listen to that score. It's, the way the songs they use are for a reason, and we pay a lot of attention to that, so people have these kind of highs and lows.
Well, let's talk about that, right? I mean, like, your art is really unique in that perspective, right? Because not only is it visual, but you also have this whole audio element to it too. So how do these layers interact to create something beautiful in post-production?
Well, we capture as much audio as we can throughout the day. We don't just limit it to the vowels and the toasts, even though, those are critical, of course. But if there's going to be a first look, we'll put a mic on for that. And we also just love capturing the ambient audio for example, throughout the preparation when people are just kind of laughing and chatting. So what we'll do is we'll sit down and we'll look at all of the footage, and we'll pick out a song that we think matches, what the couple would like, and, kind of the feel of the day. We'll also allow ourselves to be informed by the music that they chose for like the processional, recessional, that sort of thing. So we pick out a song, and then we pick out what we feel like are the most powerful points of audio to use. And then we just kind of weave that together to make a story.
Yeah.
And so the song and the audio is actually the first stuff that we put down in the edit, and then we actually put the visuals on top of that.
And it's just little nuances. For example, having a music background, when I pick a song, or Michelle, we pick a song, we find the beat of the song. So we'll count the beats of the song. And so if you notice when a scene changes, it will be on the beat. So if you were to look at the beat, and that also helps for continuity, and it helps, when are the best moments and the highs and lows of the song to put the audio and to put the visuals. So really we're taking people up to like an apex, which would normally be your ceremony, and then you kind of come back down, and then for like the reception, you go back up, and together the visuals and the audio and the music just kind of take you on a fun ride, we like to say.
Yeah. And I cannot do anything with music or the beat. Like, that's all on her. I will destroy the beat in a bad way. So we could never do this alone, because I can't do that. That's her gig.
And we try to focus on music that's really dreamy. We want people to look at their films and kind of be like, wow, it feels almost like a dream. So you might hear music that's really otherworldly. You know what I mean? So for the highlight films. For Instagram, it's a whole different thing. But for the highlight film, it tends to be more dreamy.
Ethereal type is what we like to do.
There's so much planning that goes into that, right? Because, you have to start with that structure, right? And then fit all those little puzzle pieces in. But, sometimes it's hard when you're sitting there staring at 1,000 pieces, staring at you back in the face, right? What is that right moment? What is that right glance? What is that right visual element to convey in that moment? And it doesn't have to be something grand necessarily. Sometimes it's the smallest little things, like that half smile or that sidelong glance that really it makes that point. It really, makes you feel that emotion. So can you walk us through what some of your favorite visual things are to look out for?
I think that for us, we focus a lot on, I wouldn't say organic moments, candid moments. That's what we're looking for in the day. We do some minimal posing of a bride, of a couple together, but really we're looking out for what are those glances, what are those small touches that you're talking about, because that's the meat to the story. Now, before we make a film, we meet with our couples likely for a lunch or coffee, so we know their story. We know their personalities. We had a bride that had cancer, for example, and she wanted to feel ethereal. And so her film, we just she is like a queen, and the shots were composed where she feels more regal. You know what I mean? And that's just something that we wanted to do, because she was like, I want to feel like this is the most important day of my life. I've been through so much. So that might inform it too. Somebody will tell us, I don't care at all about prep. I don't, me getting my hair done is not important to me. So what's the story there during prep? Is it how she interacts with her sister, how he interacts with his father-in-law. And those are the things we're looking for. If you see our films, there'll be less attention to the shoes, to a bouquet, to objects, because, you know, we get those, but the photographer is there documenting that. We are, and I don't want to use the word manipulating, but we are creating a story. You know what I mean? Things are happening. We take 10 hours of footage and distill it into 5 minutes. So think about what's going in and what's going out.
Right,
So.
our shot selection. That philosophy is what informs what we film. And my favorite lens is the 85 millimeter, which is like a classic portrait lens that really isolates the subject. And you don't have to be up in someone's face, drawing attention to yourself and making them feel weird. So you can stand across the room and get just those really up close portrait style shots. So that's what we're looking for throughout the day, kind of just image wise.
And you'll see some things, like sometimes we try to confuse the viewer. So we might film a window where you can see somebody on the other side of the window or walking towards the window, and you're like, what am I seeing? You're like, am I seeing somebody coming, going? And then there's people there that might be sitting down. So we try to have a few of those elements in there as well.
Right, to kind of give it more of that like dreamy feel too. You know, and those are opportunities to show off the venue, because the couples, they have picked their environment and the venue for their own special reasons. So, you know, we do incorporate that some as well.
What about the flowers? How do you show those off?
Of course, the flowers.
The flowers. The wedding we did with you guys, the flowers were out of this world.
We've heard so many comments about those flowers.
And a way that we can highlight flowers is that we have a coloring system that allows us to really pick up greens, and then we can push them in the edit. So you're like, wow, not only is this green, but this is a vibrant green, and we can make the pinks even more pinks than they were. So really like have the full effect of what you did, you know?
I think like for that wedding, and that's that wedding, but the style shoot that we did together too, was that you guys did a really good job, because there's amazing videographers out there that, you know, they make a very like cinematography, like very movie-like, right? But some people do that and they don't really capture the love that well. You know, like where it's a really good move, like good, real, and it's like interesting, but it's like you didn't really see too much of like the passion between the couple so much. It's a very dramatic movie. I felt like in the videos, even when you did the highlighted one that was more about the flowers and the couple, like you could still see the love and the beauty. Like it was like, you know, flower, but then it was like love, flowers, love, flowers, love, you know, and then not even just about the physical appearance of the flowers, but it was like the wind was blowing and you could see, you know, the archway, like there was an arch there with the flowers. You just captured it so nice, and then right after that, it's like the couple are kissing right in front of it, and it really did tell a story. And like,
thank you.
Important for us to have you guys on, because I feel like, you know, you guys did it really good with not just capturing the beauty, because of course, like you said, couples choose their venues for a reason. You know, they choose their flowers or whatever like style they want for a reason, and then also they're inviting their guests for a reason, or people are there because they love it. Yeah. So it's very important to like highlight all of it in a really good way, but still show the love, which is the real reason why, you know, this whole celebration is happening. So it's pretty cool.
Definitely. And we are really inspired. There is a group of videographers who tell stories in this way that are much more driven, not by these grand sweeping shots, but really intimate shots, which is why you'll see a lot of our films have less wide shots, but they have more intimate shots. And so that's just something that, you know, some of our people that inspire us, and, you know, our influences are more like maybe, you know, film, like a, you know, dramatic film, a lot of documentary. So our influence is kind of think intimate, you know what I mean? And that's what we're here for. Like, we want to spread love and good feelings. You know, a lot of shit goes on in the world, and we want people to feel good. You know what I mean? And I think what makes people feel good is emotion.
Right. Not necessarily overloading your film with a bunch of drone shots and wide shots that just scream, I shot at Vizcaya. Look at everything at Vizcaya, you know.
But what happened at Vizcaya? A couple was at Vizcaya. You know what I mean? What happened between those two people?
Yeah.
That's cool.
You know, by putting love at the center of the story, it makes it so much easier to tell. But even so, it can be really difficult, you know, when you're telling love stories to honor that spirit of the newlyweds and their culture and their preferences and their tastes and just everything about it, right? You know, so, you know, I think that one of the real challenges for you is that you are storytellers, right? And that's part of your mission, part of your nature. How do you tell these stories that are so diverse and so different from your own?
I think that what makes it easier for us to do that is, like I mentioned earlier, we take our couples out to lunch or coffee. So we kind of cap the number of films that we might do in a year. So that way, Michelle, who's our main editor, can take as long as she needs to craft this thing. And so that's one thing. So they'll tell us, well, this is my culture. I'm having a Jewish wedding, for example. This is what's important to me. It's traditional Jewish. We're going to sign the ketubah. You know, we're going to do everything. But then, you know, then there's the more not traditional Jewish and other cultures or same sex. Okay, what matters to you in this film? And at the heart of it, it's love. But for example, you know, we had a same-sex couple who were like, my 90-year-old grandma is going to be there. It's really important for me, for you to show us being playful, but we're not going to be super affectionate. And these are the things that maybe if we just would have showed up that day without in-depth conversations, we wouldn't have known. You know, and then we can film them being playful. It was really important to them. You know, they want to have fun, but we didn't, you know, say, oh, kiss, make out, you know, because we're not honoring, you know, like that couple. Right. So it's really in-depth conversations. What's most important to you in a wedding film? You know, is there anything of whether it's cultural or otherwise that you really want us to highlight? You know, and we take that, you know, in, and then we kind of craft that story. Does that make sense? I hope that answered your question.
No, it does. I think
it makes sense. I mean, I do. I mean, it's different in a way because you guys are doing a story, telling a story through a video, but I have this similar process with, you know, my clients as well, because I feel that a lot of my clients either sometimes they think they know they want something and they don't, but then like once you get to know them, you're like, okay, so what's important to you? Like, is the ceremony super important? You know, do you want this like is the reception, and then not just about, I also like tie in not just the beauty of it, but just the emotional part of it. And also like, is this person over the top? Is this person modern? I had a bride who she wanted Miami Vice, right? And so Miami Vice can sound kind of tacky, right? But she's not. Right? So she's like, but she's this beautiful, extremely well-dressed woman, like gorgeous, tall, like high heel, like high fashion as hell. And so we meet, and she's like, you know, we love Miami Vice, but I just don't want it to be cheesy. So at first she says, so I'm like, okay, cool, tropical. But then, and then I noticed that she wears these cute, like heart-shaped glasses all the time. And I'm like, okay, she likes different, but she doesn't, you know, she likes different, but she likes traditional, and she likes things to be fun, but not super cheesy. And so long story short was that I just ended up creating, and then after a while, once you have, like, I had her blessing to, these are colors that I want, and I showed her kind of the design, and of course it was, you know, so tailored to her that I couldn't show her an exact replica of what I had in me. And, you know, and we have a video together where she's just like, I didn't know how to explain what I wanted. I didn't even really know what I wanted, but this is exactly what I wanted. It was Miami Vice. It was classy. It's beautiful. Like, thank you so much. And you're right. It's getting to know the couple. And
exactly.
You know, like, so yeah, for sure. Especially the story. I think that really does help out a lot, telling the story. And also just like the music and everything else. One couple might want something very slow and dramatic and romantic. and another couple might want something that's a little bit more upbeat and fun.
Yeah.
And so.
Yeah, and one thing that, like, as people watch our films, they have an idea of what they're going to be like, and we tell them what we focus on. And a lot of videographers you'll see out there, they don't put a lot of emphasis on the reception. But being in Miami, we find that people really care about the reception. They care about that party. Like, even if it's like, we filmed in February, like a very luxury wedding. And, it doesn't matter. They still partied like crazy, had a nota loca, like it was like band dance floor. But we would include that, whereas maybe another videographer might not. But we do put like an emphasis on fun. So, we're like love and fun. So if those things don't necessarily go with like what somebody wants, then we really have to have another conversation. But normally people trust your vision. Like, she didn't know exactly like what that would look like, but she trusted you. And I think it's great that we get a lot of creative leeway.
Right. We always ask people, like, whenever we can get a phone call with a potential client, we make sure that they've looked at our portfolio and multiple films. And the first things we're doing is we're saying, tell us about how you met, what you like to do together when you're not planning your wedding. Tell us just, when you think about your wedding film, what do you envision? And we had one couple, they're both from Miami. They met at college, though. And they both liked to salsa dance, and they they didn't have anyone where, I don't remember.
It was like Rice University in Texas.
Yeah, exactly. No one else knows how to dance there apparently. But so they met on the dance floor. And so they said for their priorities, they really wanted to make sure that they looked like they were having fun in their video, and they just danced all night. So of course, we really honored that because, we didn't want to show a bunch of their preparation, when that's not what they told us their priority is.
Like, he was obsessed with dipping her, so that he was like, I'm gonna show you how I can dip her, and he was twirling her,
exactly,
and things like that. But other couples are much more reserved, and you don't see them on the dance floor. There's some couples that are like, I'm barely gonna dance, and that way okay, I'm not gonna get that much on the dance floor. Is it gonna be more couple time? Is it gonna be just a whole different,
Yeah, we say, do you like to dance?
I know, we love to dance. So we'll be like on the dance floor, like, hey.
I love dance. I mean, there's videos of me where I came to clean up. Like, we come at the end of the night to take the stuff and clean up for the couple. And then it was like, the party was still going. It was the last song. And I was really close to the couple. And so I was like, I have to say hi. Congratulations. And so long story short, I ended up dancing with them. My team is like working. But it was some guest, thank God, I'm so grateful for this person. I don't know who it was, but a guest videoed it. And then they sent it to them. They're like, "Oh my God, you were dancing with your florist." And then and so then I had video of them that we had took. And so I said it like, "Oh my God, look, I have this." And I was like, "Oh my God, that's so cute."
That's adorable.
That's so
cool. Too.
And it shows that you're like a real person. You're not just like this like robot that makes flowers. You know what I mean? You're like a living, breathing.
You're more than that.
You're more. But you know what I mean? It infuses like, this is who he is. I don't know. I think it's important for people to know, a little bit of your personality. Maybe,
Yeah, no, I agree.
We only have a few minutes left. So one thing that I definitely wanted to be able to talk about with you is, what are some of the trends that you see happening in videography these days?
Yeah. Do you want to talk about videography, experimental? Okay. Talker. So one thing we're seeing a lot in videography, I would say, is creativity overload. So you can, there's not any videographer is going to work exactly the same, but we're pushing the envelope all the time. So what does this mean? Somebody might do an interview with a couple before the wedding day. They might do and incorporate that. So now things are not just like, here's what happens on the wedding day. We can integrate more, and we can just really push the boundaries of music, of like natural sounds, of like before you wouldn't hear necessarily just almost like background sounds, of people talking where you can't really hear them, but you're just kind of know what's going on. And just different things with darker lighting or just really messing with the creativity. It's so like, as cameras can do more, and as we feel like, you know, the autonomy to really push buttons, you know, some people are making things that seem like, oh, could this be a romantic comedy with sweeping shots? And then there's people like us, and look up a filmmaker called Philip White. His films are almost black and white. He's a huge inspiration to us. So that's just kind of like the span of things are so different. So the trend is get to know your videographer, look at their portfolio, because just because they're the same price as another person, that doesn't mean you're gonna like them. You know, look, you know, take a deep dive. What kind of music do they use? You know what I mean? What do they do? So I would say that's a big trend. And on top of that, advice, again, look at people's portfolio. Have a conversation with them. Don't pick a videographer who's going to be outsourced, meaning a company that you're like, who's going to show up on that day? You know what I mean? Pick somebody like, you know, how you would know that you, Chris, are going to do the flowers. Well, you know that Michelle and Osiris or whoever it is going to come on your day. They know your story, and, you know, you have you know what their vision is. So.
And what are some of the places where you can see some of that, right? Like I know Love Stories TV, for example.
Right, yeah, that's a big one for us. We're on Love Stories TV. We also, you know, have evolved past, I would say, overwatching other videographers, because I want to protect myself against accidentally copying them, and not, you know, not being like inspired. So we've like gone more toward looking at still photography actually, and films. And so Vogue weddings and just Vogue in general is one that we watch. And so they have their annual wedding list, I'm sure.
And Harper's Bazaar. So really looking at those publications, I would say Harper's Bazaar, Love Story TV, you can go on their website and see videos from people all over the nation and really get a sense of the different styles and, you know, trends and things that are going on like that. And, you know, magazines like Vogue, Harper's Bazaar, but I would say the #1 place would probably be Love Stories TV.
Oh, okay.
Nice.
I agree, though. I think like with like for floor design, things become very trendy very quickly. What I've noticed is that when you look at other places like Australia or like China, or like their style is so different from what we do here, and a lot of times
Really?
had in trends. I've noticed lately that it's been like, you know, one designer does something and then it just trickles down.
Yeah.
It's not always the designer's fault, right? It's that sometimes, like, of course, if someone gives me a picture or something, you know, it's gonna be my version of that picture. So it's whatever you get, right? But I think for us, it's the same thing, just looking and really like doing the research. And like you said, we're still use of photography or videography.
I'm sorry?
It's a still videography?
Yeah, so you can, you know, we get inspiration from still photography as well. And not necessarily of like couples, but architecture photography. You know, how am I going to video this building? Here's photography that really lends itself. But yeah, I'm definitely with you in terms of like not looking at other people's videos too much, because for example, you know, there's a trend now of being very dark. You know what I mean? You might see somebody's face, but everything's very, very dark around them, very, very dramatic. And, you know, for us, you know, we saw that and, you know, and you think, oh, well, like everybody's doing this. Should I do this too? And you're like, no, that's not, you know, we're really trying to stay, honor the day. And unless, you know, you were getting ready in a dark room that had a spotlight, we might be like, well, I don't know. I know what I mean? But everybody has their style. We just, you know, like you said, just like, you have to be careful, you know, in a sense.
Yeah. Well, this has been fun. We can open it up to Q&A right now.
I know, we're like almost done.
If anybody has anything to ask our illustrious videographers or the bride candy, we're happy to answer anything.
Yeah.
About
Anybody?
Well, I have a question. So, as everyone knows, me and Joe were getting married, right? And so, for the proposal, it was a little different. It was like a handful of vendors, like no one's really there. And so now it's starting to dawn on me all these things that I never thought about before, which is I'm going to have to kiss my fiance in front of not only just my family, but his family, you know? And do you feel that like with LGBTQ plus couples that maybe it's, and this is also in lieu of Pride Month, because, you know, of course it's important to us and everything else, but do you feel like it's, what advice can you tell a LGBTQ plus couple? Like, is there, do you think that they just in that moment just forget about everything, or do you think, are there certain things that they can do to feel more comfortable? Like, what is your advice and like experience on that?
That's a good question. I mean, I think the couple should start by talking to each other because they might have different comfort levels, you know, between each other. But I don't know. I mean, how did you feel?
No, I think
we didn't talk to each other.
I know, we didn't really like. I just think, you know, I don't know.
I mean, I do kind of feel that internalized oppression sometimes.
Yeah.
I mean, I do. Like, I feel like, you know, maybe someone doesn't want to like watch us kiss, you know, for, you know, as it might not be acceptable for us to kiss as long as, you know, a straight couple would. So I feel that sometimes too, but, you know, hopefully you are inviting the people to your wedding who it's not going to be a family reunion. It's someone who, you know, you guys are already very close with and, you know, you can feel comfortable with.
I mean, I would hope people can really be themselves on their wedding day and not be like inhibited as much as possible. And I think it goes to what Michelle's saying, having conversation. If you need to have an uncomfortable conversation before the wedding, you know, have it. If that means that you can do what you want to do, you know, like at our wedding, my grandma's like 93 and she was there, you know what I mean? And, you know, I did think about it like before, but on that day I was like, you know, I don't even think she's ever seen two women kiss. And, you know what I mean? Like, and we just, you know, I just didn't think about it on that day. But I think it's important to surround yourself with people who are, you know, similar to you. And that could be getting vendors who understand and love inclusive couples. And that's very important. That's something that's extremely important to us. And that is just not same sex. That is, you know, different in bodies or different in, you know, people of color. Like, you want to see people's portfolio and you want to see, okay, they are not just catering to one specific person. You want to see, like, you know, curvy girls. You want to see, you know, LGBTQ couples. You really want to see, you know, different, you know, cultures, you know, different religions. And I think it matters. You know, as do I, that there are some vendors out there that if they find out that you're LGBTQ, you know, that they will not accept you. And, you know, that pisses me off. You know, it really pisses me off because in our industry, you know, we celebrate love. So, you know, surround yourself with people. And I would say if there's any vendors watching, you know, mind who you're partnering with, you know, find out what those people's, you know, morals are. You know, are you partnering? You have a relationship that's tight with a partner who, like, you know, well, is not inclusive, who has, you know, I would, you know, say to them, you know, check yourself, you know, make sure that, you know, that's what you want to do because, sorry, I got on my soapbox.
No, I'm 100 and 200% on your side on that. Like, I agree. The comfort as well too. Like, I never, as a vendor, the proposal was like a to me because it made me realize all these things. Like, oh my God, I didn't realize that I was going to feel this way, or just being comfortable around people. I mean, we were comfortable, yeah, but there's just certain things that kind of like, you know, come up, you know. But I agree with you. I mean, we went through a situation where we went to a venue and then it didn't go so well from us, and it's because we surround ourselves around people and vendors who are inclusive, and to experience something like that was very shell-shocking, right? And it just shows that. I think, you know, not only just looking at their at people's portfolios, but also referrals, I think is a big issue, you know, like who, you know, when our cousin asked us for referrals, like, I know the perfect person for you. I know someone who, they, you know, not only they're a same-love couple, but they did, I worked with them recently, they did an amazing job, and they're like, all right. And the minute that you guys met. They're like, great, like we love them, they're perfect for us, thank you so much. And they actually did find your venue from us too. And it was like, you know, hey, they didn't have to worry about, and because they went to the Curtis Mansion, then it was all the vendors that were part of the list that they had were all LGBTQ plus friendly, and they didn't never have to worry about that. And I really like that too. Like now that we're planning our wedding, is like, hey, like let's make sure that these people are like, where, you know, do they agree? The good thing about us is that we're known, so it's kind of like if they don't know, they have to say,
exactly.
Yeah, I know.
Perfect too. It's about personality. It's about like, you know, I'm not everyone's designer. You know, if you don't want someone who's fun and who's your bestie, then I'm not your designer for you.
Honestly, that's what I was gonna say. Is like the vibe is really the biggest thing, right? And the vibe can be a whole bunch of different things, right? It can be, you know, if people are more fun or more uptight or whatever, but like you got a vibe, especially with people like you guys who are literally there like every step of that day. You know, you have to make sure that the vibe is good, right? Because if the vibe is not good, you don't want the vibe to be not good.
Yeah,
right?
and you know what? If I can be totally honest with you, we like in the beginning we took on some jobs where we didn't necessarily feel a vibe, but you're like, well, I need to make a living.
Yeah.
And you know, the day of, you're like, oh, I can, you know, like it's just different than it's those people that you're like joking with and things like that. And now, you know, we're at a place where we can really kind of make sure that they're the right fit and that we're the right fit for them. You know, it's both ways.
Right. Yeah. And we really try to express that. We don't go overly salesy on them. We're like, let's have a phone call and just make sure that we're the right fit for you. You know, we're not just like, hire us, we're the best. You know, we want to make sure it's best on both sides.
It's a bit like dating, right?
What'd you say?
It's a bit like dating, right?
It is. Oh my gosh. Yes.
just without all the swipe right, swipe left thing, right?
I know, right? It's so funny. Like, you know, you have those people who like, you know, you have that first date with and they're like, oh yeah, sign up right away. And then you have those people that you have a first date with and you're like, oh, I didn't hear from you. You know, like whatever. You know,
they ghost, man.
And,
oh yeah, ghosting is a thing.
Yeah, you know all about that. And I feel like another thing that's important, you know, in capturing diverse love stories is not making assumptions. So for example, on our, you know, don't assume anything. You know what I mean? You know, even like when you fill out our forms, it doesn't say man, woman, X, you know, no, it's just partner A, partner B. You know what I mean? We're not trying to assume gender, orientation, religion, comfort level with kissing, which, you know, or anything else, you know. So yeah, it's really important, you know, not to assume.
Yeah.
I agree.
More of a trend. Talking about trends that we want.
Yeah.
Like, that's a good
trend. Bride and groom. It's easy to get into the habit of bride and groom all the time. Mm-hmm. And some people, in some cases, they don't mean to fall into that. They just get into this because I feel that for LGBTQ plus, like we really came into like the industry recently. I felt like in the beginning when marriage equality became, you know, a real thing in the US.
Yeah.
It was like people were like, they like, oh my God, I couldn't get married before, and they eloped, right? It was like, like weddings. Now we're coming into like, you know, Sounding Pretty and all these big publications, and you're being seen more. Times are changing.
Yes.
Like, that's the vendors really do have to realize too. It's like, yeah, back in the day, you could say bride and groom easy, and nothing would ever happen to you, or not happen to you. I mean, like you would never have to think twice about it. But now it's changing, and not everything is bride and groom. You know, not every, you know, person that you know, sees themselves as a woman necessarily sees themselves as a bride, you know?
Yeah.
So it's really good to be that way. And it's important, I think, in these times as well.
Yeah. I mean, even just the little things. Like, you can assume that a woman has planned her wedding her entire life, that she's just grew up as a little princess. We've had plenty of brides who are just like not like that at all. So just don't even make that assumption, you know. Like, we are breaking like stereotypes, and that's so important. You know, show people as who they are, not who you wish them to be. You know what I mean? So I think that's, I don't know, just so important. Like, even with vendors, I think I keep coming back to this. Just even having LGBTQ plus vendors out there. You know what I mean? Like, when we got married 5 years ago, like, you know, where were they? We would have used them. We didn't know, you know? So now we're having like more, you know, more exposure. Even
they
as
come out the closet.
No, for real. They were in the closet. You know, I'll say for videography, you know, having a business that's run by 2 women who are like the primary videographers and own the business, it's rare. It's almost like a unicorn. There's very few women that are like, you know, doing videography, and, you know, they're out there, but it's like, you know, celebrate, you know, this change that's coming, more women. It tends to be, if it's a woman, then it's a husband and wife team. But, you know, there's these amazing women coming up, you know, and it's just like a really beautiful thing to see. And, you know, Black voices, Hispanic voices, you know, because the storyteller influences the story that comes out in that love. You know what I mean? You hate to say it, but it's not an objective thing. You're getting married, but out of 10 hours of filming, it gets to reduce to 5. And what somebody, you know, might put is different than somebody else. So
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was
sorry.
That's good.
I'm sorry.
It means the world to us that you guys came on with us, and we think that you're amazing. You know, we're always trying to refer you because we just think that you guys are not just, you know, good videographers, but you guys are good people. And, you know, I don't refer any of my clients, for lack of better words, shitty vendors or people that are going to be not inclusive or not good at what they do. And so I felt like this is a really good conversation for us to have together. We also thought that it was good because it's Pride Month, and we didn't talk too much about
We drank our drink.
So thank you guys, and
Thank you. If you guys are amazing, your flowers are beautiful. The work you do is beautiful. You're inclusive. You care about things, you know, and that matters. And I think couples see that, and, you know, putting your personality and your love first, that shows. You know what I mean? And thank you for having us.
Thank you guys.
Thank you for your beautiful words.
And
Love you.
if you're not following Osiris and Michelle on Instagram at Modern Love Productions, you should absolutely be following them. So make sure you hit follow. I have it down at the bottom on Facebook. And for those of you who aren't following us, follow Chris and Jeremy at The Bride Candy. Pretty please. You won't be disappointed.
Yeah, Bride Candy.
Thanks once again, everybody, for joining. And we're happy that you enjoyed this part of Wine Wedding Wednesday. See you guys next time.
Bye.
Bye.